Prom Night is a 1980s slasher film directed by Paul Lynch and starring Jamie Lee Curtis. I've never seen anything that Lynch has done previously. I've seen a lot that Jamie Lee has done. She came into this film on the back of Halloween and The Fog, so she was going for a hat trick of great slasher titles. It was a hell of a run she was on at this stage of her career. This is a slasher whodunit film, or who's doing it film would be a better way to describe it. I will be revealing the who quite early on in my review, so just be warned, there will be spoilers. Obviously, it's a film about a prom night. We don't have prom nights in the UK. I don't think English kids are that bothered, though. I mean, presumably only two people in any given school year can be the king or the queen, so the odds of getting chosen are quite slim. It does make me cringe, actually, when I think who might have been the king and the queen from my own school year. But anyway, if I was to experience a prom night, I could imagine feeling not only excited, but also apprehensive. I mean, this isn't like a Christmas or a Thanksgiving, where if you have a bad one, there's always next year. With prom night, it's a one-off thing. And once it's gone, that's it. You're done for life. And I think a lot of the characters in this film act out of character or do things they wouldn't normally do because they're afraid that to not take certain actions will lead to regret later in life, because prom night is such a one-shot deal. And this applies not only to the protagonists, but also the killer as well, which makes this such a fascinating film with quite a few parallels. So if we start with Wendy, a character who only narrowly missed out on being the prom queen, we presume. She's annoyed about that, and she's annoyed about the fact that she's losing her boyfriend, it seems. She puts into motion a plan to play a prank on prom night on the girl who did get nominated as prom queen, Kim, played by Jamie Lee. But you can tell throughout the film that Wendy has cold feet about what she's doing. I mean, this is a far cry from that vindictive character from the film Carrie, who tries to do a similar thing. But Wendy's going to go through with it anyway, because she's afraid that if she doesn't, then she'll look back on her prom night and regret it. Then we come to the character of Kelly, who spends a lot of this film agonising over whether she should sleep with her boyfriend for the first time, even though she's not ready. And ultimately, she decides to go through with it on prom night because she's fearful that if she doesn't give it to him on this holy of holy nights, then maybe it will cause damage to the relationship. Then we come to Alex, the killer. There, I've revealed it. Presumably, he's spent his entire school years fantasizing about killing all these people in revenge for them causing the death of his sister. But he's never acted upon those desires until now. And if we read between the lines, the only reason he's doing it now is because he's running out of road. It's now or never. This is prom night. Very soon, all these people he hates will be dispersed to all corners of America, potentially. So he's going to go through with what he's always fantasized about, because he doesn't want to look back and regret not taking his last chance on prom night. So in this film, you've got people committing murders, doing pranks on people, sleeping with people they don't want to sleep with, all because of the power of prom night. One character I've not mentioned so far is Jude. Her fear at the start of the film is that she won't have anybody to go with on prom night. And if this was a normal day, maybe she wouldn't accept the offer from the random guy who pulls up alongside her in a van thinking he's it. But because it's prom night, she says yes. And weirdly enough, it turns out that these two are complete soulmates. But this is the one example in the film of somebody possibly acting out of character a little bit, and it has a positive effect. All those other examples, very much negative effects. I did like most of the characters. I thought they were very believable. I enjoyed watching their little dramas and confrontations play out in the first half of the film, because it's not really until the second half that the kills kick into gear. It is a slow burn, but I like it when a film takes that approach rather than the method of having a kill every 10 or 15 minutes just to keep you entertained. Because when the kills come around in this film, they feel really impactful because you've gotten to know the characters so well. I felt really sorry for Jude and Slick when they die by the sea. I felt really sorry for Kelly when she dies. There are a lot of douches in the film who don't die, which is a little bit infuriating. So Kelly's boyfriend just gets away. The two guys who helped the bully with the prank, they just disappear from the film unless they're in a crowd scene later on or something. The bully, by the way, is the only guy I didn't feel sorry for when he died. Though it's still an entertaining kill. I mean, how often do you see a serial killer swing an axe through a neck with such ferocity that it goes into some electrics and zaps the killer back 20 yards and knocks him unconscious? I thought that was really clever. The film did a good job of not making Alex seem too tough. I mean, you could see when the mask was off that he's not exactly a gym Hulk, so I didn't really want to see him walking through bullets or, you know, getting stabbed in the eye and then sitting up a couple of minutes later for one last scare. At the end of the film, when he gets hit in the head with an axe, that's it. He stumbles outside and dies from just that one hit, which is as it would be in real life. I didn't guess that he was the killer at any point, although I did sort of confuse myself by thinking that him and the guy who was Kim's boyfriend, another character's name I forget, I thought they were the same person for a while because they got a similar hairdo. So it wasn't until a scene halfway through where those two were in the same room where suddenly I thought, hang on, he's him and he's him. Duh. If I rewatched the film now and saw those three kids walking towards the derelict building together, towards those other kids, I might have thought to myself, well, surely I could have figured that out. But no, I wasn't even close, ultimately. Now, there's one death scene that I've not mentioned, and I've deliberately left this one till last because it's brilliant, which is Wendy's. She gets to go on this amazing chase with Alex through the school. When she turns up in the bathroom on her own, I sort of got an instinct that this was going to be her death scene, because when you've seen enough horror films, you know, you sort of can see it coming, can't you? But I didn't expect her to even get out of the bathroom alive at that point. Never mind go on this mad chase, because that's the sort of thing you'd normally expect to see at the end with Jamie Lee's Kim character, wouldn't you? So it was interesting to see that flipped around. I don't know if they did that because Halloween had come out just a couple of years before and they didn't just want to be seen to be doing something really similar, because normally in a film like this, all the main characters would get killed and then you'd have Jamie Lee walking into a closet or something, finding a grave and 3 dead bodies and going, ah! And then she turns around, dun, 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 and then the final chase gets underway. So yeah, it was a nice little change around that they did. I really liked the music. This film is such a good marriage of horror and disco. I mean, whoever would have thought that those two things would go hand in hand so well? And Jamie Lee is such a good dancer. I mean, is there anything the woman can't do, seriously? But I liked it anytime the camera was focused in on 1 or 2 people dancing or a whole group of people dancing. At no point was I thinking, come on, just get to the next scene. Because watching all this was like watching a slice of an era that I never got to experience myself, because I was born the same year that Prom Night came out. So I missed out on the whole Saturday Night Fever era and Grease and Flares and that kind of thing. The day after I watched this film the other night, I put on the Prom Night soundtrack, all 37 minutes of it, while I was cooking the kids' dinners, and they were shouting through from the sitting room, "What's that crap, Dad?" I'm like, shut up, you uncultured little Philistines. I'll quickly whiz through a couple more positives. I did like the use of red herrings in the film. I never really believed that the escaped mental patient was responsible for the killings. It felt too far away from the school, if you see what I mean. But I did think it could have been the janitor, maybe because I had no other suspects in my head. At no point did I suspect any of the students that I was watching. I also liked Alex's nuisance calls near the start. They weren't quite in the league of Billy from Black Christmas or Roger Jackson from the Scream films, but you can tell when he was putting that pencil down on the paper, there was some anger in that. It was good. In terms of negatives, I have but one, which is at the start when those kids are playing hide and seek in the derelict building. I don't like when the little girl backs herself out of the window without being touched. As soon as I saw that that was a possibility, I thought to myself, oh, she's not going to back herself out of that window, is she? And that's exactly what she did. I think it would have been better if she'd have just sort of fallen through some unsafe floorboards or something like that, because that happens a lot in real life when kids go messing around in unsafe structures. In this case, she could have fallen on a spike or something, and maybe the other kids could have refused to get her an ambulance. I think that would have been a better angle to go with rather than the backing yourself through a window thing. This film, by the way, could have been called I Still Know What You Did in First Grade, maybe. Now, before we get to the bag of terror, let me just say that even though I really loved this film, I'm not planning on going and watching Prom Night 2, 3, 4, the remake. I've had a look at the synopsises for those films and they just look like they've got nothing to do with the original. They're nothing like the original. So, I mean, I'll be completely honest with you guys when I'm planning to review the sequels to any given film and when I'm not. And this is one of those cases when I'm not. So, yeah, I only need the one Prom Night for now anyway. I mean, in the future, I might change my mind if I see them going free on Amazon Prime or something like that. But I'm definitely glad I took a risk on the Blu-ray for this one. It's a brilliant film. I'm going to put it on my shelf. I'll probably rewatch it quite a lot in the future, and it's got a great chance of getting into my next top 100 horror movies ranking when I get around to it. Right, let's get to the bag of terror then and find out what that score is. It is going to be a good one today. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 and a half. can't carry them all. 4.5 bloody axes out of 5 for the original Prom Night from 1980. That is a brilliant score. I am a big slasher movie fan though. If you're not, if slasher movies are not your favourite subgenre, maybe it will be less than a 4.5 out of 5 film, but yeah, I can definitely see why people consider this an early 80s classic. It's really, really good. And I'm glad I discovered it. Right, until next time, I'll see you. Bye-bye.